Patreon alum to Get to Crypto, where we keep you in the loop on all the latest trends and news on crypto blockchain technology. Together, we're building a crypto movement that fights for climate justice and economic empowerment. Today, we have a special guest on the show, and it's for a Cardano project, actually. We have Max from AmsterdamNode. If you want to wave hi to the camera, wave hi, Max.
Hi.
Hi, yeah. Yeah, he's going to talk a little bit about his project today. Before we get into this, though, I want to ask you one question first. We ask all of our guests this question before we start. I want to ask you, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you think the word crypto, and why? When
I hear the word crypto, there are many words that come up.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose one, connection. I think that's the first one that comes to mind. Yeah, it's not the only one. I mean, cryptography, technology is of course also one. Funnily enough, my mother is also one that comes up, because she was one of the first people that I know that invested in crypto.
Wow.
What else comes up? Also lots of friendships that have been formed through crypto. That's something as well that I've seen and experienced myself.
I like that. And it seems like.
What about you, Kiana? What if I throw the question back at you? What comes to mind?
I would say movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're building a movement. We want people to know that crypto isn't just like for the profits, for the crypto gains, that we can move the world in a better direction and solve issues with this new technology.
Okay, nice. Yeah, it's funny how it's something that we all share, right? Everybody is on the same networks, is interacting in the same way, and along a lot of the same lines of information that we all traverse, but still it holds meaning for people in different ways and what it can mean or what it is for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we got in touch a little bit through, I just saw your YouTube channel and everything, and I loved the content that you were making, and I was just curious, what if you've heard about AmsterdamNode yet, or one of the projects that we're building.
Yeah, I had not yet before you reached out. So thank you for reaching out, and I'd love to share with our audience what you're up to. So can you share what AmsterdamNode is and how you got started with your project?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Amsterdam right now, actually. AmsterdamNode was started together with my two co-founders, or three, I think we should say. My brother is also very much involved.
Mm-hmm.
We were basically during the lockdown working for our relative companies or our individual companies, and together with old high school mates, we're all in lockdown. What do? You start calling up friends and saying like, hey, what's up? What are you guys up to? How's life? You guys also in lockdown over in your part of the world? Yes, indeed. We also have a lockdown. And I'd been following Cardano for quite a while. For many people, the Charles Hoskinson's whiteboard video, YouTube explanation is one that is renowned. And so also it was for me the first linking pin. But I'd been following along, listening to the Cardano effect whenever I went to work. And that's when I discussed with my co-founders, like, hey, I think we should really start to understand this technology, because I myself worked at KPMG, which is also an advisory firm, and was working there in a lot of technologically aimed companies that wanted to work together with the consulting of KPMG. So there I started to understand also in the supply chain sector, this word blockchain was a buzzword, and people were trying to see like, okay, how can we match blockchain and supply chains together? But the more relevant ways in which I saw that blockchains would work is in these decentralized communities, and to, through cryptography, through crypto, have whole decentralized communities working together towards a certain direction.
Mhm.
And yeah, anyway, this whole discussion was then I had with my fellow co-founders, and we said, Amsterdam is a fantastic place. It's also known as a a place of freedom, and yeah, it's also just a really awesome city to live in. And we thought, all right, let's start a node, yeah, that can help support the Cardano blockchain, the Amsterdam node. And that's what we did.
Yeah, it seems like during the pandemic too, a lot of people lost a sense of community, and it seems like that's a way that you're able to bring people together who maybe physically couldn't meet up during lockdown, huh?
Yeah. Funnily enough, like I was much more of a going into brown cafes and going about to events and things like that, and that there was a hole there that couldn't be filled. So of course, like you said, where could you find that new people, new interactions, new information? For me, in a large part, that was indeed the blockchain, or the Cardano community around it, and met some amazing people, like really Vladik from Drunken Dragon games. That's I don't know if you've.
Yeah, we actually covered that a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, right. Well, yeah, he also lived in Amsterdam until just a while ago. He moved back to Mexico, but yeah, we met through Cardano. Like this one time we posted about how the first native assets, like the very first 500 NFTs were launched or something like that. The first policy IDs were live, and Charles Hoskinson happened to retweet that. And then Vladik, he saw that retweet from Charles saying, hey, there's a stake pool in Amsterdam. I need to reach out to these guys. And yeah, we, during lockdown, we went for a walk along the canals in Amsterdam. And that's awesome. That's really thanks to Cardano and yeah, that's the thing that I love about it, and that's what I meant with connection. That's for me very strongly what Cardano is all about, and also what we try to do with Amsterdam Node. So we host events here in Amsterdam. We hosted the Cardano Summit, for example. I don't know if you remember, there was like events spread out across the world, and we have hosted the Amsterdam version.
Nice.
We had like 100 people joining there. We're all big fans of Cardano. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was the same at other events, but the live stream of that event meta world thing just did not work very well. Oh man.
Yeah, I was there. I couldn't make it to the in-person ones in New York, so I was online, and I was just trying to like catch the stingrays and stuff. And
yeah.
Online, it was it was a weird thing.
Yeah, man. I think I can definitely say from the last couple of years, that was a moment that stuck out in painfulness, when there's an audience room like full of people and everybody's looking at the screen going, and it's just not working, and some people like pulling out their phones, and you can start hearing people in the crowd finding a live stream that works, and we're like, oh gosh. Okay, watch that live stream you have. Okay, fill in this URL, like, oh man. Horrible, but anyway, it worked, and we had a bunch of pitches of small projects, like Francisco's as well, and yeah, we also presented our own little NFT idea that we're working on at a timestamp.
Yeah, can you tell me a bit more about that? You're working with Dimitris with that, right?
Yeah, we're working with Dimitris. So he designs the Cardano roadmap, the art, and yeah, we're not focusing just purely on Dimitris for this. Like he's providing like the first art, but what the whole project is about is, yeah, we're not even focused purely on the artworks, so the pictures, they're going to be a part of it. But what we're more looking at from the utility case of NFTs is the rights that are ascribed to them. So, yeah, we also, having had discussions with some of the core developers of the IOHK team, what do they see as NFTs? What will they become? And at the moment, most NFTs are, an address, basically what they are, like a location, and that location, that mini website, as it were, transfers ownership through the blockchains. And a lot of NFT projects at the moment, they just have a picture slapped to it, and that's it.
You don't have all this other data, and there's so much more potential to the.
Yeah, there's a lot more potential, and what it is, then where does that potential come from, is that these NFTs are great markers of ownership, right? We know that. So you link a picture to it, and there's some ownership attached to that, right? But yeah, okay, if you don't have those formal rights and agreements in place, then still you're sometimes in a gray area in many countries, many places across the world. But what they are good in is if-then statements, right? If you have this NFT, then you are allowed XYZ. And with that principle in mind, we're trying to build something new with ADA timestamp. And ADA timestamp is not specifically about the pictures, but I mean, yeah, we're going to have unique artworks, but they're also about unique moments in time. So we're actually looking at the Cardano blockchain, and we're going to be integrating the Cardano timeline very closely to our NFT projects. I'm not going to reveal everything yet, because we're still writing the white paper and the marketing paper that will come out. But yeah, the first part of the way that we're trying to differentiate the NFTs is the unique artwork that we're choosing to use with. The second part is that we're going to be using Cardano's timeline in a very significant way, interlinking Ouroboros with the NFT itself. And the third one is the utility behind it, right? That's actually the most important, in my opinion. And with Francisco, with Drunken Dragon Games, what they're doing, for example, is they're using these NFTs that can then be used in a game, right? And they're collectibles, or you can make your beautiful tavern, as it were. But that's much closer, I think, to the real purposes of these NFTs, right? There's this underlying utility, this if-then statement. If you have this, then yeah, you can fill up your tavern in a beautiful way. For us, that's going to be the same, only our if-then statement is closer to, if you own this NFT, you will become part of the ADA timestamp timeline. And what that means is, in the most easiest way to, as an analogy to put simply, is we're going to be building a digital museum of sorts. We're going to be curating, just a timeline where Cardano is able to, or Cardano users that own the NFT themselves, are able to manifest themselves in this timeless museum that we're building. So, the idea being that there's many places, there's many different projects that are building art, right? There are people that have their statements, or their they have a message that they want to give to the world and want it to be remembered. Well, one of the places that can be done will be in ADA timestamp. And what we're trying to build is, with the same resilience of the Cardano blockchain itself, which is our technology stack. We want to use that same technology stack to be able to deliver the same principle, right, of long-term memory. And that's something that we're going to be developing. We have been over the last, let's say 4 or 5 months. It's taken a lot of time, but we're starting now very slowly with a little bit of marketing. And for people that want to have a look at what it is in our ethos around marketing, the way it looks like, you can find it at ADA timestamp, at ADA timestamp on Twitter. We also have a website, but that's basically, let me come back to that later, but maybe you have some questions in the meantime.
yeah, I'll link your info below if anyone wants to check out your Twitter too. Really, people in the blockchain space, I think we're creating history. This is something that needs to be recorded. And I think your project will be a great way for people in the future to see, like, back in the day when blockchain was just the baby, basically, this is what they were doing, and you can see these snapshots. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and we're yeah, I mean, we're just you're catching us really on very early days, you know, like I'd love to show a lot more about what we're already building and what we've done so far together with Dimitris. Yeah, and the great parties that we're going to work with, you know, the really professional website developers who've won all these awards and you know, are really excited as well, just like us, about creating a digital walk to remember, um, because that's you know, one of the things that we could still do when we were all in lockdown, and was, yeah, you know, the connections that we build in real life hopefully can be manifested there in some way as well. So yeah, we're still very early days, but you know, again, what we're going to do is we're going to perhaps do this again a couple of months from now, and I can show you exactly what kind of evolution we've gone through. Yeah, that's there's a lot to do still. It takes, I have to say, a shit ton of work to do this well and to build those kind of utilities behind an NFT project, because you think, you know, that it's yeah, clapping some kind of artworks onto an NFT and you can start selling it. That's one way to do it. But if you do want to build those utility promises behind it, you need to think about it really well. And yeah, that's what we've been doing, and that's what we'll continue to do.
And right now, as you're building out this timeline, how do you choose what gets in there? How do you choose what doesn't get in there? Is there a vetting system right now, and who's choosing all the information that's going in there? Because, I mean, you're basically recording history, but whose history is essentially going to be there, and
Yeah,
having this open in the future to more people to add more of their stories, their history, or if they're going to be
yeah,
no, we don't want this part, or like we don't like your side of the story. I can just see. I'm just trying to think like what bad things could happen, if bad things could happen in the future with this project.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah. I
pessimistic.
mean,
Just curious how that would work.
yeah, no, I mean, it's a really good question. You know, that's also one of the core questions that we've been struggling with, you know, because what we don't want to become is a social media platform, you know, like that's not our interest. You know, the key word that we're building around is more museum, you know, because this is going to be a long-term, long tail type of social media, right? So this is a place where we hope people will place something that they want generations from now to still see, right? And that's their target audience. It's not like, hey, Twitter, look at this now, have a look, and the news, Ukraine, this and that. That's not what at a timestamp it's going to be about. It's going to be about, if you had 1 minute, you know, to write your message that for the next 1,000 generations will be read or can be viewed, or if you had one picture or you had one quote, what would you choose? You know, similar to the start of this call, when, you know, when you asked, when you think of blockchain, what comes to mind? You know, give me one word. And that's something simple, right? Like, of course, you're oversimplifying something big, but hopefully someone thinks about it in a way that it holds meaning to you. And that's what we want to create, because that's what I believe that blockchains are, from a fundamental level, are good in. They are good in storing data for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so we're sticking very close to the core capability and usefulness of a blockchain in that sense. So that's why we think that there's yeah, we think that is an interesting avenue that we're going to explore. And so, to come back to your question, you know, so what can you put in there and who decides? Well, we don't know fully yet, of course. You know, we're gonna start, and we're gonna test, and we're gonna see what our user base, what our community tells us that they want. Maybe, you know, they're not interested in curating the content on a daily basis, like happens with Reddit, for example, right? Maybe they just say, listen, this long-term this long scale type of thinking, we would prefer that ADA timestamp defines the characteristics and the ethos around the messaging that is kept and retained, but that we do the I wouldn't want to call it pruning, but keep the messages within that sphere, that we don't start I don't know, having people post sexual images of cartoons doing whatever, I don't know
Well,
what.
that's representative though of the generation.
Yeah, I don't know. So, it's super quick to, but of course, there are going to be hard lines. Like child pornography will always, will just simply not be accepted. So we need to find a mechanism to test that, that hasn't been entered, for example. But that's, for us, it's later down the line. In a very practical sense, the way that we're going to start is, to explain the concept in an even better way than I'm doing now, just with you a little bit off the cuff, but they're a little bit more defined as well in our papers and in our formal website. And then, finance the first version that we're going to build. And that's the plan that we have set out. A lot of question marks are still there, but that's what our white paper is also about. We're writing the questions that we need to answer. We're not necessarily answering them yet because we can't, not without knowing what people really want. And we have a good idea of what we want, but we want to see if people actually use it in that case, in that same sense as well.
Yeah, I guess you're still building it out, but I'd be curious in the future how this turns out, like whose stories end up being told.
Yeah, so we're focusing with the stories actually of the Cardano roadmap. So if those same individuals that were named there, right, and also the names around the Cardano project. So Germano Cardano, he was the name giver of Cardano. Ada Lovelace, the name giver of Ada. You have Byron, Shelley, Gauguin, Basho, Voltaire, right? So these are big names within the Cardano community, or at least the Cardano roadmap, that had made a name for themselves in a way that Charles or IOHK wanted to remember them, right? They were honored in a sense by being given the names of these eras of the Cardano roadmap. And that's something that I should have said earlier also, that we're very closely sticking to. So that same ethos that the Cardano roadmap did is exactly the same idea that we're going to be building with ADA timestamp. It's about not just these great figures though, but it's about individuals and also honoring them in some contribution that they brought to humanity, right? That's what we hope that people will want to use ADA timestamp for. It's, how did you make your positive mark on the world? And perhaps if you're a Cardano community member and you did do something positive, like is the core mission of Cardano, where is that going to be registered and remembered? We hope that place will become ADA timestamp. And that's, there is a mechanism in place, there's an ethos, there's a governance in place, there's a museum of celebrating the achievements of humanity and of Cardano and its community.
I guess right now then, as you're putting this together, I mean, as we are people who live in this time right now, it's probably easier to figure out, okay, the things from the past, this is what's significant from the past, but as we're living through this right now, we might not even know what would be significant enough to actually put down on the timestamp. Or are you planning on doing things from the present now, or are you thinking like people in the future can judge the past once our time now is the past to put on? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, in the same way that we're celebrating Ada Lovelace and Byron, and we ourselves are choosing quotes from their journals, right? And that we're celebrating those about things that they guessed that might be right or not, or just beautiful statements that we want to remember. We think it makes the Cardano blockchain itself more meaningful to be used as a way to store beautiful meaning, right? So or art or beautiful quotes, and the thing that we're trying to do with ADA timestamp is to make one, one of many, most likely, curated forms of this history where people can easily find it and see, similarly like a museum does, art related or set with a certain ethos. So yeah, I mean, what will people judge, or how do people live today, and what will they see? Well, we hope that ADA timestamp can help people think about the long term. If you live your life from a day-to-day basis, it can, you can be lost in the here and now a little bit, while there are problems and challenges that we're all facing together that need a long-term approach, right? The tragedy of the commons, global warming, the fact that nobody owns the quality of the air, for example, that needs a great effort from many people across different nationalities, cultures, and points of view in order to tackle it. But, where is the fact that somebody chose to go solar over someone who chose to stick to diesel powered generated energy, whatever it is? How do those two people leave a different mark on the world besides having one having reduced CO2 footprint and the other didn't? And what we know is that people are a little bit vain. It's true. It's just a fact of life. And how can we maybe leverage that a little bit for positive ends, right? And that's kind of what we're hoping to do a little bit. So does the person that knows that they've lived a carbon neutral life, is that something that they choose to put on their ADA timestamp moment of fame? Perhaps, but there are many challenges, of course, associated with that, because how are you going to measure it? And that's a second part of the question.
The blockchain can't lie, but people can also lie on the blockchain of what they put too. But
yeah,
another.
that can't be helped, right? I mean, that also comes down back to your original question of who decides what to put there and the governance around that. So are we going to allow blatant lies to be put there? That's a really tricky question, right? Like, yes, the short-term answer is yes, as long as it's not, contradicting the core policies like no child pornography and things like that. But people can lie, and people do, as we see today. It's incredible the amount of lying that's going on, the differences in the complete different paradigms that Russia and the West live in, for example. It's mind-boggling. There's a lot of challenges involved with setting up the ADA timestamp, rules around what kind of content will or may be posted. And that's something, again, that we can't define yet fully, because we want to do that together with the community as well.
I want to know, how can our audience get involved with your project, and how can we help you right now? I know it's still in an early stage, but is there any way to help right now, or what should we look forward to if there isn't much yet that we can do yet?
Yeah, sure. Our delegators here in Amsterdam, they know that if they have also been joining our events. So we haven't really been marketing a lot online yet, to be honest. We've mostly just been talking directly to people in pubs and bars here in Amsterdam, many of whom are also our delegators. And they know, for example, that we've been tracking our delegators, and that we're going to be sending an AmsterdamNode loyalty token at some point, which we hope to then also make convertible for some of the ADA timestamp NFTs. I mean, that's just a classic way to get involved if you're interested to that extent. But for starters, I think following the ADA timestamp Twitter is the best. We're just starting now with releasing a little bit of marketing content on, yeah, basically these stories behind Ada Lovelace, Byron, who were they, and any updates that we have. Twitter is the first place where people can follow up on it.
Okay, I'll definitely link your info in the description so people can check you out there.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for inviting me, Gianna. Like and yeah, for us getting in touch. Yeah, I'm really excited to show you in a couple of months where we're at. Like I've seen it so many times on YouTube where people are like, you're gonna want to wait to have to see this, but when you do, it's like, ah, man, just tell us now. But yeah, there's just I can't say it yet until it's real, you know. Otherwise, you're back on YouTube and you're just like, oh, sorry guys. So that thing I said, yeah, it's slightly different. It's a different color. Yeah, but yeah, thanks so much, and yeah, let's stay in touch.
Definitely, yeah. I'll have to have you on the show again once you have it more put together. Yeah, we're definitely looking
For sure. Yeah, and then when I can show some things as well, I'll show you guys the art and yeah, what the timeline's going to look like. We already have drafts of all of it, like, but yeah, as I said, like we have to first commit to building it.
Amazing. Well, that's it for us today. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. I'll have the info for ADA timestamp down below too. And we'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.